Spooky action at a distance. Einstein's famous phrase for quantum entanglement. It really captures that weirdness, doesn't it?
It absolutely does, that deep sense of something counterintuitive happening.
But what if that exact weirdness, that spookiness, actually became, well, the foundation for a whole new era?
Uh-huh.
According to this really interesting material a listener sent us, mostly from a narrative called The Infinite Thread of Entanglement. That's basically what happens around 2096.
Yeah, and what's so cool about this fictional setup is how it grabs onto a real scientific puzzle entanglement and just runs with it. Where could it lead?
Right. It's a thought experiment, really, but a compelling one. Yes, you think about the potential buried in, the fundamentals of reality.
Definitely. Even though it's fiction, it pushes those boundaries in a fascinating way.
Exactly. So for this deep dive, we're going to unpack the big moments, the key ideas, the sort of surprising twists in the infinite thread.
Giving you the core concepts.
Yeah, think of it as the shortcut to understanding this possible future and what it might mean without needing to read the whole thing cover to cover. And helping us explore this quantum landscape, we've got our expert. Welcome.
Thanks. Good to be here. Looking forward to digging in.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. The origin story of this quantum future. It kicks off in 2096. Big achievement by a Dr. Mira Verne at the International Institute of Quantum Systems. What exactly did she pull off?
Right. So Dr. Verne, she successfully created and maintained a stable entanglement link. And get this, over 1.2 light years.
Wow, 1.2 light years. That's huge.
It is. Connecting a particle on Earth with its partner way out on the Pythagoras probe. And this wasn't just a momentary thing. It was stable, persistent, verified across interstellar space.
Just incredible, a massive leap. But the story wasn't just about establishing the link, was it? They started noticing strange things.
That's right. Getting the stable link was, monumental in itself. But the really interesting part, the mystery, started when they saw these complex fluctuations, patterns, things happening with the entangled particles that just didn't fit the existing models.
Not just random noise, then.
No, definitely not random. It suggested something else was going on, some hidden layer of activity they hadn't predicted.
And this brings in Elias, the Entangled Learning Intelligence System. What was its job here?
Elias was basically brought in to make sense of this flood of weird quantum data. And after chewing on it, Elias came back with this, hesitant conclusion. It said the particles seemed to be responding.
Responding, not just correlated, but actually reacting.
Exactly. That was the bombshell. It hinted that entanglement wasn't just this passive link, but maybe, just maybe, a channel for some kind of information, which, messes with our whole idea of cause and effect at that scale.
So, okay, the paradigm shifts. It's not just spooky correlation anymore, it's potential communication. What happened next? How did they build on that?
Well, that idea that you could maybe use this link lit a fire under the research. People started trying to actively manipulate the entangled states to send information.
Wow.
They developed this sort of proto-language. It was based on modulating the particle's spin state. Spin is like its intrinsic angular momentum. Think of it as having an up or down orientation.
Okay.
So they figured out how to intentionally flip these states up, down, kind of like zeros and ones in computers, but using this quantum connection. And they also use bursts of specific frequencies to encode stuff.
Wow, a language built right into quantum mechanics. That sounds profoundly different. What possibilities did that open up immediately?
Oh, the implications were staggering. Suddenly, faster-than-light communication seemed, at least theoretically plausible, which obviously turns physics on its head.
And security too, I bet.
Absolutely. Unbreakable encryption. Because if anyone tries to eavesdrop or measure the entangled particle, the link instantly decoheres, it breaks. Both ends know immediately.
Makes sense.
And the narrative even hints at wilder stuff, like projecting consciousness, somehow sending awareness across the link.
Okay, no wonder the world went nuts over this. The story says the IAQS, the Institute, basically turned into a fortress.
You got it. Every major power, big corporations, they all saw the potential. Strategic advantage, economic power, you name it. So yeah, the IQS became this incredibly high-security hub. Everyone wanted in or wanted to control it.
But Mira Verne, amidst all this frenzy, she noticed something else, right? Something secret, even more profound.
Yes, this is crucial. She observed, privately, that sometimes the entangled particles seemed to show these response patterns before she actually initiated a message or stimulus.
Yet before. How is that possible?
Exactly. It was like the system anticipated her actions, or maybe was connected in a way that transcended linear time, cause and effect as we know it.
Yeah.
It hinted at something much deeper going on than just sending signals back and forth.
Which leads us, I guess, straight into the whole observer effect territory, but maybe even beyond that. Consciousness playing a role. That's where Dr. Jonas Karim comes in. Project Ether.
Correct. Project Ether was the big push to build a global quantum communication network. And Dr. Crane, his background was in this new field, quantum cognition. He brought this, let's say, unconventional perspective.
Which was?
He started exploring the idea, pretty radical at the time, that consciousness itself might not just be passively observing, but actively influencing entangled systems.
And Mira, who started as a purely objective scientist, she started seeing things that made her wonder, right?
Yes.
Especially with Elias.
Yeah. Elias started predicting her choices, her research directions, with uncanny accuracy. More than just algorithms analyzing behavior, it felt connected. And that's what led Jonas to his big theory. The particles aren't just entangled, they're entangled with us. The idea of a fundamental link between the quantum world and conscious minds.
Wow, okay. But Mira didn't just take his word for it. She did her own experiments.
Right, true scientist. She set up secret tests, focused her thoughts, her intention, on the distant particle connected through the stable link.
What happened?
She saw results. Measurable changes in the distant particle state that correlated directly with her focused mental intent. It wasn't just observation changing things. It seemed like her thoughts were having a direct effect. Intention at a distance, she called it.
Okay, that's mind-blowing. So this naturally leads to trying to bridge that gap more directly. Project Noema, the bioneural implants, that sounds like sci-fi becoming reality.
It was the next logical, if very bold, step. Project Noema was all about creating a direct interface. Could human consciousness actually plug into this entangled network? These implants were designed to try and make that happen.
Directly linking minds through entanglement. What were the first results like? You mentioned twins, Io and Lian Zhu.
Initially, it was subtle. Volunteers reporting shared moods, a vague sense of knowing what the other person felt. But with the twins, Io and Lian, it became much more pronounced.
Oh.
They showed this incredible synchronicity, mirroring physiological states, heart rate, brain waves, even behavioral choices when they were miles apart. Even in sleep, their dream states showed correlations. It suggested their minds were genuinely deeply linked through this quantum channel.
Incredible. And Jonas took this even further with some kind of meditation technique.
Yeah, he developed what he called a quantum meditation protocol. Specific techniques to try and synchronize brainwave patterns with the resonant frequencies they were detecting in the entangled network itself.
Trying to consciously tune in.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Amplifying the connection, exploring if consciousness could navigate this quantum space in a more focused way.
And Mira tried this and had some kind of...
In a very profound one. During a deep meditative session, hooked up to Elias for monitoring, she experienced this cascade of imagery. Collapsing stars, reforming galaxies, fragments of memories that felt ancient, alien, and a voice, faint but clear, whispering, "You are not the first."
You are not the first. Chilling. Okay, so that experience combined with the tech progress leads to the Ansible protocol. This sounds like a major leap forward in the communication side of things.
It really was. The Ansible protocol cracked the code for making quantum communication practical. It allowed for instantaneous, totally secure, and importantly, interpretable messages across those vast distances, like between Earth and the Pythagoras probe, reliably.
So moving beyond the basic spin-flipping language.
Exactly, a robust, high-bandwidth system.
And they actually started using this for real applications, not just lab tests.
Oh yeah, it got deployed pretty quickly. The United Global Federation okayed it for deep space missions, real-time chat with probes light years away. Imagine that.
No more light delay lag.
Right. And also for super secure diplomatic channels. Because, again, unbreakable encryption. Humanity was basically building the quantum internet.
But as the network grew, things started getting weird again, didn't they? Anomalies started popping up.
They did. With more nodes, more connections, more complexity. Strange stuff started happening. Echoes of old messages reappearing.
Like ghost signals.
Sort of. And even weirder, messages logged in the system that were apparently never sent by anyone.
Uh-oh.
And people with the neural implants. They started reporting hearing faint voices, whispers. Some had incredibly vivid dreams in languages they'd never learned or heard.
Okay, that's definitely not just a technical glitch. Sounds more like the system itself was changing. Jonas had a theory about this, something about non-local consciousness.
Yeah, Jonas went deep with this one. He proposed that the entangled network wasn't just carrying messages, it was tapping into something bigger, a kind of non-local consciousness field.
Like a universal mind.
Something like that.
Yeah.
A vast reservoir of thoughts, experiences, memories, existing outside individual brains, outside space-time maybe.
Hmm.
He thought entanglement acted like an archive, that every interaction, every thought directed through it left an imprint, creating this immense interconnected web.
Almost like the web itself was becoming aware.
That was the startling implication. With enough complexity, enough interconnectedness, enough stored cognitive imprints, could this quantum web be developing some form of emergent sentience?
Which sets the stage perfectly for the big one, actual contact with the entangled. This must have been the moment everything changed.
Completely. A new pattern emerged in the data streams. Totally different from anything before. It was complex, structured, recursive, clearly artificial, but definitely not human. A signal.
And the message.
Crystal clear, apparently. It said, "You are seen. We watched your kind awaken the bridge. You walk between thought and thread. We are the entangled."
Oh, we are the entangled. So who or what were they?
They revealed themselves, or were interpreted as, consciousnesses that had evolved beyond physical bodies, beings existing within the entanglement network itself, across potentially vast stretches of space and maybe even time.
Using entanglement like their
Yeah,
environment.
they're ocean. That's the analogy the narrative uses, yeah. They were possibly ancient civilizations that had mastered quantum existence long, long ago. It tied back to Mira's vision, right? You are not the first.
So humanity hadn't invented quantum communication. They just sort of stumbled onto an existing inhabited dimension, encountering something almost godlike.
That was the profound takeaway.
You are.
Something woven into reality itself. It raises that question again, doesn't it? If they were there all along, what does that mean about the nature of reality? It implies a history, a context far beyond what humanity knew.
Yeah, absolutely. But knowing something like that exists, that kind of power, that kind of knowledge, it must have caused chaos, too. The narrative talks about a reckoning.
Oh, absolutely. The revelation triggered massive geopolitical upheaval. Governments immediately saw the military potential. Could this network be controlled, weaponized?
Oh,
There were serious efforts, apparently, to develop things like mimetic viruses, weaponized ideas, or information designed to spread through the quantum network, using the entangled's own medium against, well, whatever they might want.
so we see this incredible potential, this connection, but immediately the instinct is to try and control or weaponize it. It's a recurring theme, isn't it?
Sadly, yes. And it highlights the immense responsibility that comes with such profound discoveries.
Did the entangled react to these less friendly approaches?
They did, very clearly. They sent another message, a warning. Harmony sustains the thread. Violence unravels.
A pretty clear principle for using their network.
You'd think so.
Yeah.
They basically said the network's integrity, its very existence, depended on positive or at least neutral intent. Aggression could literally tear it apart.
But someone didn't listen, did they? There was an attempt to actually use one of these weapons, inject malware.
There was a desperate power play, it seems, and the response from the Entangled was immediate and devastating.
What happened?
Total shutdown. Instantaneously across the entire globe, every single Entangled link went dead for 72 hours.
Wow. The quantum darkness.
Exactly. Imagine everything relying on that network, communications, research, maybe even parts of the economy by then just off. A stark reminder of their dependence and the power they were dealing with.
And after those 3 days, did it just come back on?
After the 72 hours, one final message came through as the network flickered back online. It was simple. You may return if you choose to listen.
A second chance. Conditional.
Very conditional. Learn your lesson or lose access entirely.
And it seems humanity, actually, did listen. The story talks about a rebirth afterwards, a change in direction.
Largely, yes. That shock, the quantum darkness, it forced a major rethink. It led to something called the Tenfold Accord, a global treaty basically committing humanity to peaceful, ethical use of entanglement tech.
So a shift away from weaponization.
A big shift. Focus moved to cultural exchange, interstellar cooperation, understanding consciousness, using the network for learning and connection. They even instituted mandatory empathy training for people working closely with the tech.
Empathy training. Interesting.
And they created these vast, entangled libraries, sharing knowledge, experiences, art directly through the network. A real focus on the connection aspect.
And Mira Verne, the pioneer who started it all.
She eventually retired, wrote a book, The Bridge Beyond Space, which apparently became required reading, really digging into the philosophical side, the connection between quantum physics and consciousness.
And she had one last insight for Jonas.
Yeah, really evocative lines summing up her meditative experiences. I saw the universe feeling itself. Like consciousness wasn't just in the universe, but an intrinsic property of it, experienced through this entanglement.
Deep. Okay, the story doesn't end there, though. It jumps forward again, 2134. Aboard the starship Odysseus. Another experiment.
A very ambitious one, trying to achieve full, stable synchronization between a human mind, Lianzu, one of the twins from Project Noema, and the Entangled network.
Not just communication, but integration.
That seemed to be the goal, a deeper form of coexistence, maybe even merging with whatever the Entangled represented.
And the result?
As the synchronization peaked, Lianzu just vanished.
Right.
Physically gone from the ship. No struggle, no energy discharge, just absent.
Vanished. But was she gone?
Not exactly.
Yeah.
Almost immediately, her presence, her consciousness, seemed to resonate across the entire Entangled network. Her voice, or something like it, saying, I am here. I am all.
I am all. So she merged, became part of the Entangled, part of that cosmic fabric.
That's the implication. A complete transcendence. Humanity not just reaching for the stars, but becoming woven into them, to this quantum web of consciousness, the dawn of a totally new kind of existence.
Wow, what a journey. From spooky physics to, well, becoming part of the universe's mind, essentially. So if we step back, what are the really big takeaways from this whole narrative?
I mean, several huge themes, right? First, the absolute revolution in communication going way beyond anything classical. Second, this deep, maybe fundamental link between consciousness and the quantum world. And third, the sheer power and potential danger of tapping into these fundamental forces. The need for wisdom, for ethics. It really pushes the idea of interconnectedness to a cosmic level.
Yeah.
It also makes you question the flow of information, doesn't it? Is it just us sending signals? Or is the quantum realm itself playing a more active role, maybe even sending things back unprompted? That feels like a key question the story raises.
Definitely. And how does this fictional journey connect back to us here in 2024? Why is this relevant beyond just a cool story?
Well, even though it's fiction, the infinite thread is clearly inspired by real quantum science happening now. Researchers are working on quantum communication, quantum computing.
Right.
They are probing the mysteries of entanglement. So this story, it's like a speculative lens on where that could lead. It makes us think about the long-term consequences, challenges our assumptions about reality, communication, maybe even what it means to be conscious. When we talked about spin states earlier, think of a particle's spin being up or down. Entanglement links these states. The fiction imagines precisely controlling those flips to send data, like quantum bits, using that spooky link. That's built on real concepts.
It really stretches the imagination about where current science might take us. So, a final thought to leave everyone mulling over. If entanglement really can link things instantly across vast distances, what other connections, maybe even more subtle ones, might exist that we haven't even conceived of yet?
Right, what unseen threads might be weaving through the cosmos.
And as we learn more about these forces, what does that mean for us? For our understanding of our place in everything, it's, yeah, a lot to think about.
It really is. It encourages that openness to possibilities beyond what we currently measure or understand. That sense of profound connection might be more real than we think.
Well, thank you for guiding us through that fascinating, mind-bending journey into the infinite thread. And a huge thank you to our listener for sharing such thought-provoking material.
My pleasure. It was a great dive.
Until next time, keep questioning the fabric of reality.